progress effectively in this certification and to speak convincingly in a sales presentation, you will need to know and understand some essential concepts and key words. The CentralPointe server functions as the core of an Office network for external security and internal collaboration. With this in mind, the most important concepts to understand deal with networking, for example, IP addresses, connectivity, hardware, the domain controller, and group permissions. The Internet is a logical linking of local area networks from around the world via unique IP or Internet Protocol addresses into a wide area network or WAN. It is essentially a network of networks. The CentralPointe server can act as the Internet traffic gateway for a LAN to ensure security for local workstations and network resources. The CPS acts as the boundary between the WAN and LAN over the network hardware. The standard for uniquely identifying resources on a network is the protocol of assigning a numeric address or IP address made up of 4 blocks of numbers from 0 to 255 to all the individual devices on the network. Adding details of the subnet mask, gateway, and domain name server complete the configuration for a network-enabled resource. 172.22.10.1 with a subnet of 255.255.255.0 is a valid address on a network. Other devices on the same network could be assigned the same numbers on the first 3 blocks or subnets, such as 172.22.10, but the last block would be unique, such as 172.22.10.2 rather than .1. The subnet mask defines that the last block defines local hosts on the network. The system for numbering network devices is called an IP scheme. To help make remembering the addresses easier for humans, we can use alphanumeric names to call up network devices with the help of a domain name server or DNS. That's easier than remembering all the numbers. The IP address 172.22.10.1 could have the name of example.com reserved for the whole world to use. A DNS server or domain name server keeps a list of aliases for each domain name so that the alphanumeric address will forward correctly to the numeric IP address. So mail.example.com and info.example.com would be sent to the right IP addresses on the Internet. The most fundamental and essential capability of a network is for the hardware resources, being the server, workstations, and printers, to communicate to each other. There are 2 sides to the connectivity, the Internet being the outside of the network, and the intranet being the inside of the local network. Internet connectivity would be between the client computer and the printer. Internet connectivity would be the ability to get to a website. A network interface card is the hardware connection to the network. This device has a unique identity known as a MAC or hardware address to differentiate itself from all other devices on the LAN. Cat5 cable physically connects the NICs to join computers to the network. A switch connects multiple devices, workstations, printers, etc. on a network and properly directs all data traffic between them. Each network device has a unique ID or IP and MAC address, so the switch can make sure the data will be sent to the correct place. A router manages traffic between network devices like a switch, but it has further control over the network. A router assigns IP addresses via DHCP to devices on the LAN. It can restrict data traffic based on firewall rules, and it can direct network traffic outside of the LAN. A wireless access point, or WAP, connects network devices together without cables. The WAP works like a switch with only one network port into which all the wireless NICs connect. Be aware that the bandwidth or speed of a wireless network can be dramatically reduced when several users access it at the same time. Your Internet service provider will install a broadband modem at your office to convert data to your network. Common types are cable, DSL, and T1. The CentralPointe server needs to be configured as the first device on the network, so be sure to disable the firewall and router features if those are built into the modem. The data should pass directly to the CPS. Business line applications drive the core business of an office. Important applications like database, accounting, and practice management often run on a server for greater access and stability. Often these applications are specially designed to work on one operating system, such as Windows Server 2003. It can be a deal breaker for the CPS if a vital business line application will not work under Linux, though it is possible to simply take that application and install it on a Windows workstation on the network and get the same results. A network share is the file space on a computer connected to the network and opened up for specific groups to access with a login and password. A mapped network drive can be a helpful shortcut for a Windows user to access the shared folders on the server. The great convenience is that it will appear as an extra hard drive with its own drive letter, and it can remember your server password and automatically log you in. This is easier than typing in the full network path and authenticating each time you want to access files on the network. A workgroup is a collection of computers on a LAN. There is no central authority to define users and permissions, and each computer manages its own permissions and access. A domain controller is the central authority to define users and permissions. This allows computers joined to the domain to allow the domain controller to determine permissions to the available network resources for the member computers. The CPS can provide this order to an office network. Permissions are set on files and folders to give the right users the right amount of access. That way, only authorized users can view, change, or work on protected files. Group-level file access helps organize which users may write and view files. Individual users can be assigned to a group, and then permissions can be defined for that entire group. This helps set permissions based on logical duties for groups. A virtual private network, or VPN, allows users to connect from a remote connection through the Internet to a secured office network. This way, a user can work from home but access all the resources at the office. Multiple branch offices can also connect to all work together.